another thing that we headlined for today is contentious forks. So maybe we
Oh, right. Yeah.
touch on that. I mean, there's
Yeah.
like a multi-hour conversation, but
Yeah.
at least like let's touch on
Is
it.
this the knots thing or quantum stuff or all of
the
it?
above.
It could be either. So for those that don't know, I worked on a project with Lynn Alden and Crypto Ren a year ago called BCAP, Bitcoin Consensus Analysis Project. We mentioned it a few times this show earlier in the year. Never really went deep on it though. I think it's and it's just the question is like the question on a lot of people's minds is like, how does Bitcoin change? How do you change Bitcoin? But the flip of that is also a very interesting question. How do you not change Bitcoin? Because if you are invested in Bitcoin or using Bitcoin and you really care about
nothing.
well, but let's say we're investors, or let's say we're running a
Traders.
business. We care very much about the properties of Bitcoin.
Right.
We don't want it to change because we like the properties of Bitcoin. So we should care about how does it not change? You say do nothing, but what if other humans in the world do something? How do you prevent it from changing? So both sides of the coin it's the same coin, but it's two different views. So this project was an analysis of like what keeps it from changing and how does it change. There's of course no like authoritative resource including this project, but it's just an analysis. It's a framework. It's one way to think about it. I mean, I'm biased, but I think it's a good way to think about it. So we produced that in 2024, launched it a little over a year ago. And I feel like now that there's a couple of topics that are related to this, it'll be more valuable to other folks. One is the knot stuff. So there's a BIP. It was 444, now it's 110, but trying to like defeat spam and confiscate coins, etc. But it would be a consensus change. I don't think there's a whole lot of
merit.
Certainly not merit, and there's not much oomph to that, but like nevertheless, it's a topic in social media at least. And then quantum continues to rear its head. We've talked about it a lot on the show, and it may be playing a small or large part in price suppression of Bitcoin.
Right.
There's definitely discussion and fear among investors with quantum. And so if and when quantum computers ever do become capable of stealing Bitcoin, we will need to do a consensus change to introduce new cryptography. And we've talked about on the show, like what are the different contentious issues there. So BCAP project, I think, addresses both of these quite well. So you might see some of us who worked on BCAP go on podcasts and stuff and get more engaged on social media to talk about how it applies to this. But I was surprised in social media engagement yesterday. Nick Carter's spending time looking at the quantum issue right now, doing a lot of research, writing a lot about it.
Which is great, by the way, because Nick is a smart dude. So I'm happy to see
Nick's a smart guy. And he's positioning as a bit of, I would characterize it alarmist though. So more alarmist than I think is really.
But I'm glad, because even if he's wrong, like it's good that people are like taking it seriously, looking into it. So
well, that's an interesting discussion point. I mean, like because the question of like when will a quantum computer be like I don't see how we can we're not going to reach a point in 1 year. I saw someone relate this to like the environment issue. And I feel like we came up with a bunch of rational, logical arguments for why it's not an environmental concern. And we're seeing that play out. And it's kind of like it has proof points behind it. But with quantum FUD, like a year from now, we're not going to be able to say like, yep, a quantum computer is impossible, or a quantum computer, we now have proof that it's going to be 25 years until it's viable.
Right.
We're not going to have that. So it's going to be this looming question, right? So how do we move away from alarmism then? So I do think it's good to be raising awareness because we don't know if and when it will occur. And if it does occur in a few years and we're not prepared, that is bad for Bitcoin. So I think what's important to communicate is like, what are the key points? Are we prepared? What's our level of preparation? And we covered that at the Presidio Bitcoin Quantum event. we need to do a better job, as we talked about on the show a few weeks
And
ago,
Alex said
about
he's got a
summarizing.
sheet,
We're gonna
Oh.
get that out
Oh.
in January.
Alpha drop.
And but in any case, what I wanted to say, like, in that exchange with Nick on X, I was really surprised. One statement he made, which is that there won't ever be a contentious fork again with Bitcoin because BlackRock will just negotiate it behind the scenes. And I think that's completely insane. Like if that is true, like if you guys say like, yeah, I agree with Nick, and everyone believes that, then I'm gonna just exit Bitcoin. Like that's Bitcoin's like completely uninteresting then.
Right.
If BlackRock is controlling it and just simply just
They get
behind
to
the scenes
decide what happens,
negotiating it, like
how
a
much
New York
how much
agreement.
do they hold? I bet.
Like, I mean, we can talk about that, but like,
What was the actual number? Like $1 million?
they hold none.
I mean, it's
On
all
behalf of their
Coinbase,
customers.
right? Coinbase is the
On behalf of their
custodian.
customers. Like how much are they in theory? I know they're not custodying it, but like how much are they in theory managing?
I think it's on the order of 800,000.
Okay. Because to be clear, I mean, I think Nick's point is, I don't know if they have enough. I haven't really thought about this issue to have an opinion yet. But even if it's not their Bitcoin in the docs, they can choose a fork.
I know.
So
we cover that in the BCAP analysis.
Yeah.
So you guys should reread it.
Okay.
But do you agree that if it's true that they control Bitcoin?
Well, I don't think they can do it by themselves, but like one might say maybe today as they keep accumulating coins, like I would probably say just on face without thinking about it a lot, he's probably wrong today. But like, could you imagine a world pretty soon where there's enough big players that collectively have enough of the supply? Probably.
Yeah, but I still don't see how they can't control others from forking. Like others can create a fork.
Yeah. I mean,
and the rest of the world can place bets on that.
Sure.
Like a market can exist.
Yeah, but that I think his point is that fork would not get any economic viability. Like in 2017, Bcash for a minute.
It could. That what, like if the Chinese don't like the direction that BlackRock's going, they absolutely will start placing.
That's a good
bets on
point.
that.
Yeah, if sovereigns compete, sure.
Yeah, I mean the world's complex, right? It's not just a BlackRock world.
Yeah.
So, or Coinbase or Strategy or what have you. But and also another dynamic which we didn't get into in that social media interaction is futures markets. I think will play a big. I mean, what I said in the show a few weeks ago, and I said on Twitter, is that I don't think in the specific case of quantum, I don't think we're going to resolve freeze coins or steal coins because there's really good arguments for both positions, and they both strike at the heart of core principles most Bitcoiners care about. So it's a really hard problem, right? Yeah. So I think we're not going to like just have a discussion and come to consensus. I think it will come. It'll be a war. I think there will be a split, and then the markets will decide. That's what I
think the markets will decide pretty quickly, though.
I think they'll decide very quickly. Now, but an alternative to that, which is the same sentiment, is that there won't be a chain split, because the markets will have already decided through a futures market.
Right.
Like if someone proposes a fork at block height, 1.2 million or whatever, and we all see it's ahead of us, there'll be a futures market. And if coin A, like the freeze coins are worth 10 times more than the steal, then or vice versa, that'll be the winning coin and there'll be consensus. Because I don't feel like, even if you're in one camp versus the other, this is not a deal breaker issue for most people. Like you might have a preference for, I think you, at least last show, you stated a preference for steal.
I say that preference over and over. I don't like calling it steal. I'm in camp free markets. We don't touch it.
Okay. Camp free market. And then sailors in camp.
Steal is a very bad brand.
Sailors in camp freeze. Right. And I know lots of people who I respect a lot and have influence that are in each camp.
Yeah.
But I think most people, if they learn that the 10x the prices in the camp that you're not in, you are going to capitulate versus like actually go with the underpriced.
I think for any of these things, I agree with you. That's most likely to happen on quantum. I think for something like the span thing, you're always going to have the kind of orthodox tiny group. If they want to fork off, great. They just won't have any economic value. Like Bcash still exists. So I think there will be forks, but it's going to be obvious which one has value versus not.
But I don't think it's a negotiation by BlackRock. Now, one thing I do think merits analysis is to have a fork, you generally need miner activation. You don't technically need it, but that's the easiest way to get a fork. So since mining is very centralized with a few mining pools, You can have mining pools and the BlackRocks and Coinbases of the world get in a room, but even then, like, I think the Chinese are our friend there in the sense that, like,
it keeps things like a
like,
adversarial.
I think it's the incentives of Chinese and Chinese companies are not necessarily aligned with Wall Street.
2 last thoughts on that. It'd be interesting to get your take on the BCAP project, if it changes at all as BlackRock accumulates more coins. And second thing on the quantum thing, I know way over time. So in a future episode, I would like to see anyone that dismisses Nick's arguments also be AGI pilled. One thing that I will say is I know Nick is AGI pilled. I know a lot of people that are like debating him are not AGI pilled. I would like to see a credible person that disagrees with him or like is on the opposite side of alarmism that also believes, that we're not going to see AI rapidly increasing all kinds of discoveries in mathematics, uh, technological breakthroughs, like Matt said, in healthcare, because I think that's one area where a lot of people I disagree with, and I do agree with Nick.